All right, we're going to do a match review. We've got Team Hot Sauce, or Heroes of the Storm, versus Mystery Men. We've got Limp captaining here versus Blade. I have no idea how to pronounce this map name, so I'm just going to call it Havel. One of my favorite maps, really cool unit here, the Fel. They have a special ability you can use to block archer arrows or the projectiles. Rarely see it used, but they are very good. Think of them as just a more effective warrior. They will absolutely smash a group of the same number of warriors or Thrall, as for instance, in any melee setting. Looking at the trade here, that's a lot of archers, for the HOTS team. We've got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. Quite a few, actually. Very small number of dwarfs, just 2. Other than that, pretty standard. We got max pus. It looks like max goals. If not max, then pretty close. Similar trade for the Mystery Men. Looks like 1 less archer. So trading for, 10 archers. So pretty close there. One change, double the number of dwarfs on the Mystery Men side. It appears we did not max warriors either. Whereas for the Hot Sauce team, they've got max warriors. They also have some more Thrall. And the Mystery Men team have traded that in return for those 2 extra dwarfs. So here we go. So from the outset, this is interesting. So supposedly in planning time, I did not hear this, but there was a question asked on the side of Mystery Men of should one of our melee packs that was going north actually go through this hole in the wall and be in a position to either cross here or potentially double back on mid. We decided in this case to actually run both around. The advantage of doing this is it gives both players guaranteed access to the rush flank because in theory, Genghis, as a for instance, could block this from ours. So if ours is over here, there's a world in which he gets trapped. So interesting plot twist at the start of the game. Mystery Man actually manages to get flag 3 with a goal. That goal then runs back across the river, which makes sense. You want to protect it. There is a play where you can run that goal further into the backfield to do some scouting. So again, hindsight's obviously 2020, but it is possible that if that goal either stays hanging around a little bit more or runs further into the backfield, Mystery Man sees this rush. Again, want to give props to Limp. Sounds like this was his idea. But what they have done is they have set up a delayed mid-rush. So they showed archers. So Arsnick, in his point of view stream, showed that he was looking. He saw archers. He went back to his screen. Our mid is setting up as if it's going to be this total, camp fest, basically, where we've only got 1 dwarf here. We've got goals that are mirroring the goal pack. We've got some Thrall that are trying to get set up. And then you've got Karma going up here to meet up with Tiri. Tiri runs all the way down south, actually manages to get this tag as well. So in theory, in this, for instance, in most of our games, getting 2 free tags like this is insane. It puts us up at a very big advantage. It means we're 1 flag away from getting victory imminent. Given our strat of a rush up here, things on the Mystery Men side are feeling pretty good. That said, if we move forward here a little bit, holy shit, we now see this as mid-rush. So I want to give credit to ours. Ours, even though he's in the north flank, immediately sees this and starts running melee here to get it across and actually help out. If he hadn't seen this, or if Genghis had actually blocked this river, I think that this would have been a complete shit show. I think Mystery Men would have been down by 30 or 40%. Our mid, now not really set up properly for this rush. Dwarf gets pussed immediately, so this is bad. We had a puss dud as a counter puss, meaning Asmodean here gets a second puss, which kills the dwarf. Now, a mistake I made here, I gotta call out. So I have 2 choices as the blue dwarf. I can come in here and try to help the rush, but seeing this dwarf is already dead, there's really not a lot I can do. So I probably should just back up here and link up with Tiri. Tiri's coming. Obviously, he's got a dwarf and some melee that's going to be reinforcements. These Thrall and archers are pretty much dead at this point. But we don't do that. So fast forward a little bit. I do successfully use a counterpuss. Thierry says that I am never able to successfully counterpuss. I clearly did. So the dwarf lives, gets one shot off. Fast forward a bit, dodges another puss. So at this point, they have invested 2 puss. A third puss comes in, also misses. So it ended up being okay, and then I was hard to kill and got a couple dwarf throws off, but in general, I think it was a mistake. Should have been closer to Thierry. Having that second dwarf alive likely would have made a big difference. So now we've got LSO and ours that are both crashing back to catch up to mid. And I think probably this one of the biggest plays of the match right here. Arsenic has a puss that is going to freeze like all of Thalander and Asmodean's units. Duds. If that hits, Thierry, Karma, and ours clean this up. So that's a 14% swing. Again, if that happens, we're looking at a dead even game. So if we go forward a bit more, at this point, Mystery Men is trying to catch this rush while HOTS is trying to retreat. Arsenic duds again. So Asmo has now had pus dud on his club dud melee twice. Another dud pus here does get picked up. Thalander is pussed. We quickly see more trading. You notice the percent, it's only 5%. One thing to call out, though, as a result of having to adjust to this play, Donsky has been left really on an island. So he's got 19%. He's facing 3 players from the Hot Sauce team. So Donsky, we apologize for hanging you out to dry. He's dealing with a nice 34% of the enemy team, which is rough. So really, if he can somehow survive this, it looks like Mystery Men could actually come back and pull this off. More dancing's happening mid. We've got a pus there, didn't really do much. Unfortunately, it allows H&P, I believe, East Wind's units, rather, to escape. And now at this point, it's clear that we can't really hold flag 6, which is a problem, because that's going to end up giving Hot Sauce victory imminent. LSO does sort of follow these goals. I think at this point we're questioning whether or not we can reinforce Donsky in time. Still up in the air. We've lost a little bit more as he got pussed. Donsky did up here. Nothing he can really do about it. Like I said, he's faced with fighting 3 different players. Limp helpfully circles the flag on the map that they're going to defend as everyone from the Hot Sauce team starts to retreat. So fast forwarding a bit. Bush continues. At this point, I think this is the right call. The call's made to pull units off of flag 6. It looked like LSO probably couldn't get there in time. We may not have pus for this dwarf. An alternative play there would have been for LSO to actually try to rush over and double. I don't know if that works. And then it certainly doesn't help us get this flag. So good stuff by Hot Sauce so far. They actually overcame a pretty rough start to that rush. They got, or to losing flags rather. Mystery Men then overcame a couple of unlucky duds to keep this interesting. And at this point, I wouldn't say the game's over, but it's pretty close to over. Hot Sauce has a bunch of archers. They've got a dwarf alive here. They have more units coming to reinforce with a second dwarf. Mystery Men has used much of their pus. I think maybe all of it. It looks like Thierry and Arsenic may have 1 pus, because of course they do. Karma splits off south. That's me. This is probably another mistake here. We've got 5 Thrall versus these units. If I'm patient and wait for the Journeyman and micro this, it's pretty likely that at worst I'm going to lose 1 warrior. I don't do that. I actually lose 2 here. And I lose the goal as well. So that's a misplay. Percentages, again, it's not going to matter much, but having those 3 extra units, if anything, would make the ending rush a little bit more interesting. But again, I don't think it would have been enough to swing the match. So from here, we got a bunch of posturing. We've got Donsky making his valiant last stand with Ethel. We've got our goal pack, looking to see if it was possible to sneak over through this passage. Then you've got the rest of us trying to gather up and assess what we can do as far as pushing this flag. So fast forwarding, this is boring. There's no real threat to our flag. So these are really just distractions at this point. And it's going to come down to whether or not we can pull off a miracle rush. Only thing that help us win here would be if we were somehow able to kill one or both of these dwarves while taking very little losses, or get up on the archers in a setting where they were caught off guard. Neither is particularly likely, at least in my opinion. So just speeding this up, our goal pack's flanked around. We also have a northern flank here with one of our 2 dwarves that's alive. But as you can see, he's faced with 4 archers. This is a tough fight. I think Donsky, he makes the call. I think it's the right call. You might as well try to fight this because we do need to get through if we're going to have any shot at winning. So he makes a rush. Good play from Thalander here to reinforce. I think that would have worked if he wasn't there to reinforce Gecko. However, he's here. Now that melee's even. We are trying to do our rush over on this side. We use one of our remaining pus. It's actually quite good. Freezes quite a few of them. But even with that dwarf dead, the melee advantage is still on the side of Hot Sauce, and we do have this goal pack. So I think the last hopes of Mystery Men are riding on these 2 dwarves. One of them controlled by Donsty down in the north, and the other controlled by Tiri. Lots of archers, a lot of pressure. Still, only a 7% gap. If this dwarf stays alive, there's a very good chance we're able to push onto the flag and actually pull off a win here. However, as we'll soon see, Donsky's forces here in the north are met with a fiery death. Again, can't blame him for losing that fight. It was what he had to take. At this point, we've got I think, most important play of the match after Arsenick's unfortunate dud puss. 2 dud pusses in that initial rush. Tiri's dwarf trying to stay alive. Last shot at our chance to win. And a pus from Limp comes out. And honestly, or that may have been Shyster, couldn't tell whose goal it was. One of the 2, excellent pus. And at this point now, down 11%. The game is basically over. You could argue if we had rushed a little bit sooner, it might have been closer because these archers here haven't had a chance to get back to flag 4. But again, I don't think it makes a big difference. So we'll speed this up. And HOTS do a good job of holding that flag. And that's all she wrote. Looking at the stats for the game, MVP of this, I think, is Thalander. You could give it to Limp, because from a strategic perspective, I think it was a good play. I like the delayed mid-rush. As we talked about earlier, I think Mystery Men could have handled it a little bit better if we'd been set up in a more flexible sort of initial unit setup. But as it is, a very close game. Thalander had obviously 21 kills, 43 damage, which is impressive enough. But he also managed to keep enough units alive to successfully reinforce Gecko on the north, which was really important in helping Gecko stay alive and keeping us from getting flag 4 and winning the game. So great job, team. On our side, like I said, I think from a trade perspective, there's some work we could have done just in terms of where we sent our units. I showed you a couple screw-ups on my side with the dwarf, but all in all, I thought it was a heroic effort. Shout out to Zell. He did a good job dancing with 1 archer. I didn't show it in the review, unfortunately, but I thought he did a good job as well. So with that, we will go to game 2.